Good afternoon, esteemed speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Arun Karna, and on behalf of IACC's National Committee on Indo-US Trade Relations, it's my honor and privilege to welcome you to today's webinar on the topic, the Indo-US Tech Corridor, AI and Cloud Opportunities. We meet at a moment when digital transformation is no longer incremental. AI, cloud, and semiconductors are redefining the very architecture of economies. And within this shift, the Indo-US corridor stands out as one of the most consequential technology partnerships in the world. Today's webinar is an opportunity to move from potential to practice, to identify actionable partnerships that can actually shape the future of AI, cloud, and digital infrastructure across both nations, India and the US, and indeed do that for global impact. Thank you, IACC, for hosting this dialogue, and to all our distinguished speakers and participants for joining us. I look forward to a very rich and forward-looking discussion. With that, let me hand over the session to Mr. Sunil David, the esteemed moderator for this panel discussion. Quick introduction for Sunil, and I don't think he needs an introduction as such. So Sunil David comes with 28 years of experience in the IT and telecom industry. He's currently in panel as a global gold mentor at T-Hub Hyderabad, one of India's largest startup incubators. And he's been helping AI and IoT-based startups in a number of areas, validating business ideas, evaluating the product to market fit, and guiding them on their go-to-market strategies. Since November 2024, he's also been associated with the Indian School of Business in their ISB Online, which is part of ISB's executive education series, as a program leader for the IoT module for the program called Business Technology and Innovation with AI, which is targeted towards working executives. He's also the chair of the IoT Advisory Committee of NASSCOM Women Wizards Rule Tech Program, one of India's largest online digital skilling program for women, and has been associated with this initiative since 2020. He's also been associated with IACC since May 2023. He's currently a member of our Indo-US Trade Relations Committee, and that's why he's moderating this session. And he's curated and spoken at physical and virtual events organized by ICC focused around digital transformation for SMBs, ESG, etc. Now, I could continue talking about Sunil, but then the whole webinar time would be gone. So without much ado, I hand the mic over to you, Sunil. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Arun. And at the outset, I would like to thank Arun Karna and the IACC team for inviting me to moderate this panel. Good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon to the esteemed speakers for taking time to join the session. And we're looking forward to a very interesting webinar on the topic, the Indo-US Tech Corridor, AI and Cloud Opportunities. Before we get into the discussion, I'll just take a few minutes to set the context for the discussion. The Indo-US relationship is no longer just about trade in goods or traditional IT services. It is rapidly becoming a digital alliance where AI, cloud, semiconductors, and data are what I call the real arteries of growth. Last year, bilateral trade in goods and services between India and US crossed $200 billion, making the US by far India's largest trading partner. And friends, while the headlines often focuses on tariffs and market access, the real long-term story is the quiet but powerful build-out of digital capacity, digital trust, and digital co-innovation between the two nations. And in this context, I think three very important pillars stand out. Number one, trade. Number two, technology. And number three, trust. Friends, we are also meeting at a very important inflection point. The negotiations on the India-US bilateral trade agreement are progressing, and there is a possibility that we might have a trade deal perhaps early 2026. Now, friends, if that happens, it won't be just about tariffs on goods. It will increasingly shape rules for data flows, digital services, IP standards, and AI governance. And these are exactly the domains that matter for AI and cloud. At the same time, India is also today's fastest growing major economy. We had a very stellar growth in the last quarter, 8.2% July to September. And if we go at that pace, we'll probably touch 7+% growth for fiscal year 25-26. And the digital economy is a huge part of that, anywhere from 10 to 12% of the digital economy as a percentage of our GDP. Now, if you just look at AI, Indian AI market is estimated to grow to around anywhere from 17 to $22 billion by 2027, as per most reports. And India already accounts for about 16% of the world's AI talent. On the cloud side, we have seen India's public cloud services market growing. And again, as per reports, it is estimated to touch around $18 billion by 2027. Now, cloud and AI together can contribute hundreds of billions of dollars to India's GDP in the next 2 years. So while the economic logic is clear, while India brings scale, talent, and digital public infrastructure, the US brings capital, platforms, and frontier innovation. And the corridor that connects the two is what we are here to unpack today. Now, very quickly sharing some of the work that India has been doing, the government has been doing when you look at the infrastructure layer, when you look at GPUs, data centers, and semiconductors. You're probably aware of the India AI mission. The government of India has approved an outlay of 10,300 crores, which is a little over $1 billion, to build a very comprehensive AI ecosystem. And that includes a national compute infrastructure with more than 38,000 GPUs in public-private partnership. You all are also familiar with this, the collaboration that India and US have in the area of critical and emerging technologies called ISET, which is now called Trust, which is transforming the relationship utilizing strategic technology. And the whole objective is to jointly work on areas such as AI, semiconductors, quantum, and advanced computing. On the private sector side, we are seeing massive investments in AI infrastructure in India. And that is very tightly coupled with US technology. And you would have probably seen announcements made in the recent past. Google announcing a $15 billion investment in India to set up an AI hub and a data center in Visakhapatnam. Adani Group is also investing in that. Google also has launched an AI hardware expansion and Gemini-based services in India. And they're actually partnering with Axel to back at least 10 early stage Indian AI startups. You would have read about NVIDIA wanting to partner with Reliance and Tata to build large-scale AI infrastructure in India. And very recently, just about a month back, you would have probably read the news about TPG, which is a well-known US-based global alternative asset management firm, which is going to partner with TCS. In fact, are going to invest about $1 billion in TCS's initiative to build data centers in India. It's called Hypervolt. And of course, Vivek will cover this, but Unity Electronics, which is a part of DuPont, the semiconductor and electronics material company, which was spun off recently and listed on the NYSE, is positioning itself as the key enabler of AI data centers. You'll probably hear more from Vivek on that. Now, on the platform side, I'll cover the infrastructure side, but before I get to the infrastructure, I mean, data centers, I think we're seeing a lot of investment happening, 15 billion invested so far, a lot more coming in the next 2 to 3 years. On the platform layer side, I think OpenAI, Google, Meta are betting big on India. I think you would have read about OpenAI having set up an office in India very, very recently. Google is expanding their local AI compute capacity in India using its Trillium TPUs, the tensor processing units. And Meta is using Llama models integrated with WhatsApp to power e-governance pilots in states like AP, Maharashtra, and Odisha. And this is helping citizens access schemes and services during natural language interfaces. So friends, this is not just India as a market. It is India as a test bed, as a co-innovation lab, and as a scaling partner for US AI platforms. And as I mentioned earlier, the Indo-US Trust Initiative, that's providing the strategic umbrella under which AI, cloud, semiconductors, space, and quantum cooperation are being deepened. And in parallel, digital trade disciplines, cross-border flows, cybersecurity, AI safety, and emerging tech standards are likely to become an important pillar of the Indo-US trade deal. And so we are moving from project by project collaboration to a more structured, rule-based India-US digital corridor or a tech corridor. And friends, this corridor is not a unidirectional one. It is not just services out of India, products in the US. It is a multi-layered mesh where US platforms and chips are landing in India at scale, and Indian talent and GCCs are building AI products for US and global clients. So With this context, I propose to have 4 lenses through which we're going to explore AI and cloud opportunities in the Indo-US corridor. We definitely want to talk about how AI can be scaled, and more importantly, with safety, the cloud architectures for a two-continent reality. Wanting to also talk about the semiconductor infrastructure and the new industrial stack, and very importantly, talent, standards, and innovation pathways. We have seen how startups in India are also engaged with the US. So that's something that we definitely want to talk about. And we are very fortunate to have with us leaders who sit right at the intersection of these themes across manufacturing, supply chain and procurement, financial services, and semiconductors. So with that context, friends, let's begin the discussion. And before I get to the questions, I want to request each of the 4 panelists to maybe just take a minute to introduce themselves and a little bit about their role within their respective organization. Maybe I'll start with Vivek. Vivek, over to you.
Thank you,
Short
Sunil.
1
I'm
minute
audible?
introduction. Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah. So thank you, Arun Karna ji, Sunil ji, Desai Saab, and IACC team to allow me to learn from each one of you. Been 25 years close to that and to the global industry, and currently acting for DuPont, spun off, which is Qunity, into global change management, global service desk leadership, and also maybe future taking also of the DuPont and the Qunity early career network. And why will we say that? We are super specializing into semiconductors, areas of computing, AI, ML, and that is a strong arm of DuPont, which has been purely created so as to very strongly with a $4.5 billion kind of an investment with put up into S&P 500, and to ensure that we are all working together in the semiconductor and the AI space. So I took my initial learning from IT Daily, IM and CA background, and would be happy to learn from each one of you. Thank you again, IACC.
Thank you so much, Vivek. Sheenam, a brief introduction.
Thank you so much, Sunil. Like Vivek said, thank you very much for having me here. It's an honor and a privilege. Today, Sunil, I represent Broadridge India. Broadridge is a global capability center for Broadridge financial solutions globally. We host about 1/3 of our associates in India, and we lead through engineering, operations, and shared services. Broadridge globally is a company that is dealing with capital, is a fintech, providing a platform for capital markets, wealth, asset management, communications, and governance space. And we lead almost 85% of the US domestic market in that space.
Thanks, Sheenam. Ravi, over to you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot, Sunil, and thanks to you and to IACC for inviting me on this August panel. So right now I'm with Apollo Tyres, based out of NCR. Prior to this, I have 2 decades of experience in the pharmaceutical industry, heading global logistics and digital transformation. And my PhD is in supply chain management, specifically logistics. I have published a book on strategic value chains, which is again about unlocking value using digitization. And there's a paper on supply chain which has been published and is available on the HBR store. So the last 3 decades, I've been actively working on digitization, supply chain. That has been my work area. Very happy to be here and eager to learn from the rest of the panelists.
Thank you, Ravi. Chitti, please.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, IACC, for having me here. I am Group CIO for Aurobindo Pharma. Aurobindo Pharma is into 155 countries as of now, and predominantly we cater to the needs of the US and as well as European market. And coming to me, I have 41 years of experience. So right from mainframe till today, I have seen every release and version. Even today, I'm hands-on. I'm an advisory board member for Oracle Corporation on their supply chain designs, and I'm also learning. In fact, I have done already quantum computing in my post PG studies. Now I'm getting trained on quantum computing and machine learning from IIT Delhi remotely. Soon I'll be getting certificates, and I'm also certified blockchain specialist, certified supply chain specialist.
Thank you, Chitti, so much for joining us. And I'm going to start by getting Sheenam to share her thoughts. And Sheenam, India is emerging as an AI innovation hub for US capital markets, right? And you talked about what Broadridge is doing, serving some of the largest US banks and broker dealers. So with India tech teams now building AI native products like Bond GPT is one of yours. How do you see India and US working together almost as a single virtual hub? One, to modernize capital markets infrastructure for the AI age, and also to provide better services to customers. Yeah.
Thank you, Sunil. That's an excellent question. At the onset, let me also clarify that Bond GPT is not being developed by India, but we have other GPT products, which is Ops GPT, Distributed GPT, our own chat GPT like intranet, which is the Broad GPT. All of that has been done in India. So answering to your main question, right? Broadridge India now has transitioned to be a core innovation engine powering global fintech strategy, right? In Broadridge, what we have done is that we have created squads, agile squads, which are a team of about 7 to 8 people. You have a product master, a scrum master, a product owner, a scrum master, 3 to 4 developers, 2 to 3 estates, all comprising, coming together as a single unit, able to take any kind of global backlog. So we have about 550 odd squads across the globe. 320 of those sit in India. We follow the Sun model. So we ensure that we have the capability, the talent available in India to be able to deliver any kind of backlog that exists. So whether that is, on our legacy platforms, which are like BPS, impact loss, or they are delivering to, the new age initiatives, which we are doing from a DLT perspective, digital ledger repo perspective, or we are doing, the AI engines. Specifically on the AI question that you asked, right? For AI, Broadridge has got 3 kinds of strategies. We have got 3 pillars. One is really the AI Academy, where we are talking about how do we go about training the people. So there is a training course, and there is, a gradual uptick of the training course available for every kind of persona. So whether you are in HR, or you are a developer, or you are in ops, we do have something available for everybody as a part of the AI Academy. Second one is, how do you do internal development? How do you introduce chat GPT as an important tool internally without data going out? We are a highly regulated business. We cannot afford our customers' data going out. We cannot afford our data going out. So we have worked with the OpenAI protocols and built what is called as the Broad GPT, which is our internal chat GPT. But around Broad GPT, we're building developer toolkits and other tools that we can use for our own productivity. So that's the second bucket of what we are doing with AI. And the third bucket is what you talked about, right? From a strategy perspective, we are going out, figuring out the right use cases where we can use this technology and implement those use cases and have really dedicated answers to problems that people have. So, you define the problem, really use the design thinking principles, define the problems, and then you use your agile squads to really deliver those solutions to the people. And in all of that, Broadridge India is the most important fabric for Broadridge's innovations, transformations, and engineering outcomes.
Right. Thanks for sharing that. Sheenam, you talked about 500 odd squads across the world, right? And you said 320 are in India.
Yes.
What would be the typical size of every squad?
About people, 7 to 8 people.
7 to 8 people in every squad. And I like the way you talked about the 3 aspects, the AI Academy, the internal development, and also identifying the right use cases is very critical. Thanks. I'll come back to you later, Sheenam, on the GCC part, because that's again seeing a lot of growth across the country. Let me get Vivek into the discussion. And Vivek, thank you once again for joining us. And Vivek, needless to say, semiconductors is an invisible backbone of the corridor, right? And you all are sitting at a very strategic layer, the materials and solutions that make advanced chips, packing and thermal management possible. And so from your perspective, Vivek, how is AI and cloud boom reshaping the semiconductor value chain, and where do you see the most meaningful opportunities for Indo-US collaboration, Vivek?
Sunil, what a lovely point about mentioning about the two big nations, India and US. And the same way as we have India and US talked about, I would be proudly saying Honorable PM Modi Saab also said that AI is something like American Indian spirit. See the quantity of the Indian diaspora who's residing in the length and breadth in the US, the way the EBITDA of the companies are going, the way the top line and the bottom line of the organizations are going in both the nations, the same way the GDP and the GNP of both the countries are going in a solid state. And this is not about 2026, Sunil and Arunji for that matter. I would be proudly saying this is a vision 2030 to 2050, and the semiconductor and the AI and the cloud boom would be taking the entire world, particularly strong nations like US and India, together because in a big country like India, we have close to 140 crore population and more, and we have millions of strong people residing in the US. And if you see that, as we move a mile to mile, the color of the soil changes, the culture changes in India, as is the flavor of the semiconductor world. And while we say this, in India, predominantly what we have seen or done, we have tried to move to tier 3 cities. We are not focusing on tier ones only, and we are also trying to establish good amount of the GCC world culture here. And while we say that, we are focusing on the DIY model. We are hiring the people who are not only having the degrees in their head, there's the paper ones, but we are more focusing, Sunilji, on the people who have made their hands dirty. And that would make the semiconductor world strong with licensing with the best brains of the world. Thank you.
Right, thanks. And I think the point on going to tier 3 cities is so important because it's all about inclusivity, right? I mean, you cannot have technology being consumed only in the bigger cities. You need to take it to the hinterlands and the tier 3 cities as well. Thanks for sharing your perspective on that, Vivek. And let me move to Chitti. And Chitti, the pharma industry, a lot of the revenue still comes from the US, right? And for Aurobindo Pharma as well, a lot of your market comes from the US there. So how is Aurobindo, we are one of the leading generic pharma companies, and with US being a critical market, as you infuse AI into manufacturing quality and pharmacovigilance, how is the Indo-US tech corridor helping you, one, improve reliability and compliance for US patients across FDA expectations, and also ensure supply continuity and manage your cost pressures, Chitti?
Yeah, it's a good question. Initially, to handle the patient safety and undisrupted the supply chains ones, where we are implementing the AI-based solutions for especially what we call demand forecasting, demand management, which is a forecasting solution. The forecasting should be as accurate as possible. For entire our US operations, the India will be the like a contract manufacturer. We manufacture here the products and we'll ship the products to our US warehouse. From there, the US warehouse in turn they will ship to our customers. We are predominantly B2B, not B2C. So obviously the in US where we sell the to McKinsey and as CVS Pharma, etc. They'll be buying those formulations, whatever we manufacture here, and they'll be shipping those to the respective the headquarters of CVS, and they in turn will ship to their pharmacy stores. So in the entire process, the first thing is the quality. See, when it comes to US is a regulatory market where we are under the FDA surveillance. So that means all the drug safety, that the quality of the drugs what we manufacture, and there should not be any kind of deviations. And similarly, there should not be any kind of supply chain disruptions. What I mean is, so there is a lead time. The moment we ship the goods, sometimes we ship the goods by sea, I mean by ship, or sometimes we ship the goods by air, depending on the emergency or if anything that we ship the committed timelines. The timelines are very much required. At the same time, we also use the trace serialization, which is that is only to address the counterfeit of the products what we manufacture, just similar to currencies. So that particular one today, we do not have any kind of tracking from end-to-end tracking. So we are building some kind of AI-based the end-to-end tracking of the products. That means right the moment our US counterpart places an order on us, and our plant starts packaging. From that time onwards, they can track, anybody can track anywhere where the goods lie. And it includes even our logistics supply chain, the providers, right? They pick up the containers from our plants and they will go through in the customs clearance, followed by the seaports, be it Mumbai or Chennai. Again, the loading to vessel, and vessel has to reach our office, our warehouse is in New Jersey. It has to reach New Jersey airport. From there, it has to be transported to warehouse. As a first phase, we'll be going live soon. Already pilot conference room pilot has been completed. POC has been completed. We'll be going live this particular tracking till US warehouse by March 2026. Subsequently, we also do the same tracking to the local, I mean domestic customers of US as well. So it's a one platform. We use various solutions. So because pharma generally will not be using only one unified application. They will have too many heterogeneous applications. But predominantly we are an Oracle platform. We are not an SAP unlike any other the pharma company. We are an Oracle. And some other Oracle based applications are there. All those are integrated. This particular what we call TraceLink Mint platform is a single platform which can be seen by anybody, and even including our customers, where the goods lie. Just like the analogy what I'd like to give is, the moment you place an order for the food on your Swiggy or Zomato, right? You see that, okay, you see the restaurant is preparing the food and delivery partner has picked up. Till it reaches, you can track it. The similar tracking what we are doing, including the serialized numbers, what serial numbers what this container has it. Now, the US FDA also has enforced Drug Supply Chain Security Act. What does it mean is, we see whatever endpoints, let us say we see the blisters or bottles of tablets, each bottle will have serial number. So let us say 24 bottles will be kept in a pack, in a box like thing. That box will have a serial number. Similarly, several hundreds of those boxes are packed in a pallet. That pallet will have a serial number. If anybody scans the serial number of the pallet, it knows how many boxes are there, how many bottles are there, which are those serial numbers. That means it's called aggregation. So aggregation is mandatory as per Drug Supply Chain Security Act, which is mandatory for patient safety ultimately, because the moment counterfeit medicines are released in the market, and obviously the patient's health is at stake. To address that, FDA has enforced this, and we are already complied that. So we are already using those all automatic packaging, the serial numbers, etc. Everything is monitored by the video cameras, and they are, even you can challenge those systems. If you just remove any blister or any bottle, immediately that particular entire packet will be rejected and it will be thrown out of the conveyor belt. So, and the moment those are packed, these serial numbers are uploaded to the TraceLink platform. That's where we come up with a different platform called Mint. So Mint is the intelligence platform. It gives entire intelligence information from end to end for tracking. This is what we are doing on the drug supply chain side. Another one, what we are going to do soon, we'll be doing that pharmacovigilance side, which is very much required, because pharmacovigilance means it is nothing but the market compliance. It can be from a patient, it can be from a pharmacy, it can be from a distributor. Anybody can raise that. Again, the form of the complaint can be email or phone call or even a fax, anything. So those things are recorded in a different system. Or again, that is from Oracle. Oracle Argus is Argus Safety and Pharmacovigilance System. So we are upgrading that particular one to the latest and greatest version of Oracle, which will have the embedded the AI itself. So these are the several several AI applications are being envisaged and built. Again, we are trying to build all those applications within the four walls of the company. We are not going to expose any of them to the cloud due to a lot of intellectual property rights. Being a generic pharma company, obviously we have to protect our own IP rights.
Understood. Just one quick follow-up question. The AI solution that you built, that is, I guess you would identify the right partners to build that, or you have a team internal team which is working?
We have a few partners, but we have our own internal team.
Okay.
Unfortunately, even today I'm hands-on, so I keep building a lot of products.
Okay, thanks, Chitti. Let me move to Ravi. And Ravi, this question is specifically on AI for cross-border freight resilience. I know, given the kind of supply chain disruption that we've been seeing over the last 12 to 18 months, right, due to geopolitical considerations, Red Sea disruptions, and so on and so forth. And especially if you just look at the Indian industry, auto components companies who are selling to the US, including yours, how the industry really leveraging the power of AI and cloud to really orchestrate global freight, especially as you have to manage the shipping lanes, ports, inland logistics, and then so on and so forth, Ravi, and especially if you have to really meet the demand of US customers. Ravi, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you, Sunil. That's an excellent question, and it's very pertinent, and I mean something that manufacturers who are exporting out of India and who have long lead times to their customers, they're struggling with every day. And as you rightly pointed out, this is a recent phenomena. I mean, this was not something that we used to kind of worry about a few years back. But just to back up that statement with some data points, the shipping schedules, which are captured and circulated, quantified and circulated, they at a global level they stand at around 60% in terms of reliability. So the shipping reliability is just 60%, and so which basically means that there's a 40% unreliability. So you're dealing with unreliable supply chains globally. It is not something which is specifically out of India or to the West. Shipping reliability is at a low of 60%. The other phenomena that we have seen in the shipping sector is, I'm talking about ocean freight, that carriers have been resorting to blank sailings. Okay, so which basically means that in order to keep the capacity constrained and rates to be maintained at a certain level, they don't allow an influx of capacity, shipping capacity to happen. So one way of doing it is without withdrawing the actual physical asset from the itinerary, they will simply don't call a port and hence reducing the available capacity. Now, what that does to the pricing is one aspect of the problem, but what it does to the reliability of the supply chain is something else. Okay, so that's problem number one. And it's understood that supply chains have to be predictable, supply chains have to be reliable, factories cannot accommodate uncertainty, and hence all the supply chain designs that we have over aggregation, building in redundancies in the form of inventory, they all add to a cost. Okay, so that redundancy has a cost. We are living with it. Everybody's living with it. But the problem that still is not solved is we do not have, or nobody has a line of sight as to what your delivery dates are going to be to your customer. Okay. And add to that the problem that the shipping industry itself is very complex. There are multiple ports, transshipment hubs, and at every hub there is a layer of uncertainty that keeps on getting added. Okay, so that's the problem statement. That's the lay of the land. Now, how do you solve it using AI? Now, it would seem that you can model it, and you can maybe deploy a deep learning model, and try to get something of a prediction out of it. And this is something we have been trying to do. But the complexity of creating such a model, and then there are tools available, and there is talent available. You still need to work with workable data. And since we were talking about external data that is coming out of shipping lines, freight forwarders, port authorities, and all the intermediate players that are there in the supply chain, so this data is there all over the place. So to clean it up, integrate it, harmonize it, and then automate is quite a job. And hence AI is coming in to kind of create a prediction into what you expect out of a supply chain, having settled for the redundancy and the extra cost that the uncertainty is bringing in. Yeah. So, but to your question, AI is solving it, is trying to solve it, and it's getting better and better as we get more data. This output would be more reliable. So that's my response to your question. I hope I've been able to address it adequately.
No, thanks, Ravi.
Thank you.
Probably next round I'll come back to you. We'll go a little deeper in terms of how you can use not just the AI, but even things like digital twins, especially when you look at supply chain visibility,
Sure.
how technology will play a big part. I'll come to that round two. And
Sure.
let me now get back to Sheenam. And Sheenam, I just wanted you to address this whole aspect about cloud and data sovereignty, especially in financial services industry, because it is very, very regulated, especially around data residency, Sheenam. So I just wanted to get your view in terms of how is Broadridge, how are you all trying to kind of architect your whole cloud stack, whether it's multi-cloud, hybrid, or a combination, how you can leverage advanced AI services while still complying with data localization and privacy rules, especially if you have to deal across multiple regulators, Sheenam. Your
So
thoughts.
you're absolutely right, Sunil, and thank you for the question. And before actually I answer, I must congratulate you and the IACC because the wide spectrum of industries you got and the wide spectrum of people who know what they're doing is so high. Like just hearing all of my co-panelists was such a good pleasure. So thank you very much. Coming back to the cloud and the multi-cloud strategy, you are absolutely right, Sunil. Financial institutions operate under strict, very, very strict data residency and localization regulations across India, US, and global markets. EU is one of them. There are different data residency and localization regulations across states in the US. So we have to ensure from a Broadridge perspective that compliance is really rooted in responsible AI and our secure data frameworks, ensuring explainability, privacy, and regulatory alignment at every stage of the deployment, right? Our AI systems are enterprise grade. They ensure, like I said, explainability. They are compliant from ground up, especially within the tightly regulated environment of the financial services. Our strategy is anchored around 4 key pillars: introducing and scaling high-value use cases, empowering business units through a unified single AI platform. So we have a very strong platform strategy over there. In that, we embed the AI responsibly and ensure that that can be used. We have a very strong data governance and an intellectual property protection strategy, and that's kind of infused into the platform itself. Now, that's really around the data and what we do from an AI. Our architecture supports everything. We can support public, private, hybrid combinations as is needed, depending on what the customers want, depending on what the governments want, what is regulated in a particular country. So our architecture is modular, scalable, agnostic to vendors, and compliant, right? Essentially build on a lot of microservices architecture, multi-tenant infrastructure, so that we can support regional consolidation without comprising any of the local data controls. We ensure global scalability. We ensure adherence to jurisdiction-specific data residency policies. And from a sheer India perspective, we have our own data localization rules, which are governed by what India has, and we align to that. We ensure that our internal fabric of the infrastructure is also aligned to that. Does that help you, Sunil?
Oh, yeah, it does. Thank you so much for sharing, Sheenam. Let me move to Vivek. And Vivek, I just want to shift gears a bit to talk about the importance of collaboration, right? And given the focus that India has on building fabs in India, semiconductor fabs, until recently, we're still importing a lot of them from the countries around Southeast Asia. But Unity as a company, you've been partnering with Asian and Indian manufacturing ecosystems, and as per reports, 80% of your revenue is coming from Asia. If I'm not mistaken, Vivek, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I just wanted to understand, since you work very closely with fabs, with OSATs and electronic manufacturers in the region, how do you really see India's emerging semiconductor and electronic manufacturing ambitions really fitting into your global roadmap, Vivek? Your thoughts?
Thank you, Sunil. So primarily, while we were setting up the organization, the senior leadership predominantly thought that let's try to have a portfolio based approach. When we say portfolio, it is not only a solution driven approach but also outcome based. And when we tie all these three things together, by default cost and value has to play a big proposition. So we have a lot amount of skill in the APAC sector, and when we say as a region, so right from Japan and China, and right from India and Korea are the places whereby huge amount of knowledgeable people are based. The industry itself is a predominantly mentioning right from the numbers brought out by NASSCOM, even McKinsey and Gartner, that the R&D facilities, the scientific setup, and the kind of numeric data goes very well in the APAC world, and that is the reason we have tried to form even the early career networks there. And primarily because of that, we are trying to move from strategic and tactical, but not missing the operational part, because the core bottom line goes from there. And I, being a man of finance, I primarily like to see the things that how we can the same thing as you said, avoid the multi-layer of mesh, but more go into the advisory part rather than only a transaction focused part. And while we do that, we are trying to ensure that we do not sort of miss the broad spectrum of the old customers from the 230-year-old big legacy what has been formed, but at the same time give the core value to the new customers, which is driven by value, yes, but post-COVID more by cost. So where APAC acquires a major significance, Sunil. Thank you.
Right, Vivek, just one question. See, a lot of the fabs which are in India are building 28 nanometer and maybe higher chips, right? And then you have countries like South Korea and Taiwan, especially, you're talking about 5 nanometer, 2 nanometer kind of chip technology. In your view, do you think India should also look at that possibility of also building chips, say 2 nanometer, 5 nanometer, Vivek?
Sunil, why not? In fact, Vikram, as one of the name of the semiconductor one, was the initial one. So make in India, then utilize in India, and then not only utilize but also something which is end-to-end ownership. That is something which the various elements of leadership is targeting at. The things, it is various elements of the numeric part what you said, but the learning is in core areas. The industry academia partnership will enable that as a precise answer to the view, because if you see the incubation centers right from IT Madras to ISB to IIT Delhi and multiple others, and in the nice IACC and the CII collaborations, they are bringing the core people who are not only management oriented but techno functional. That will help the numbers go from higher to micro level, as you mentioned, in India. Vision 2030.
Okay, thanks, Vivek. Let me get Chitti back into the discussion. And Chitti, the question that I asked before was on the AI side, right? Especially in terms of quality and supply chain. Let me now ask you about the cloud and data architecture, especially when you're talking about Hyderabad and New Jersey, and you talked about your close collaboration with Oracle as well. So how are you re-architecting your cloud and data strategy, Chitti, so that AI workloads can run closer to the data while you're trying to meet all these regulatory considerations, both in the India and the US? Chitti?
Yeah, we have two data centers. One in India, Hyderabad, is our own data center. So we don't, we are not co-located, and we have invested too much on the hardware, whatever we have right now. At the same time, even US also we have our own hardware. And recently we co-located to the QTS data center. So these two are predominantly, as I mentioned, most of our applications are on-prem applications. And we have value-added applications such as the Oracle Supply Chain Cloud and Demand Management Cloud, which will integrate with these two instances. And the consolidated picture will be viewed by the top management as well as the operational excellency folks. So now when we build the Supply Chain Cloud and Demand Management Cloud, the Oracle has recently embedded their generative AI components to that particular suite of the product. So because we have integrated these two applications again via Oracle Integration Cloud, so that any AI application on the supply chain demand management is a common to both instances, but it will be viewed at the globally. So that's how we are consolidating. Now there are some issues. Now I have taken up that project also as a separate engagement to make sure that the demand management or the forecast management from especially from European communities are a little bit complex, which is not direct fit to the any of the product. So because of that too much of demand fluctuations and little bit of improper configuration is causing a lot of supply chain wrong recommendations that I'm working on along with Oracle and other things. Once that is done, then embedded AI component, which is obviously you will say that near to data, because now the global supply chain, if I look at that particular value added application, it is common to both. It looks at both data separately because the reason why we had to do that because North America, New Jersey data center caters to North America and South America countries, and the way of configuration. Because Aurobindo, let me give you two sentences about Aurobindo. Aurobindo is integrated manufacturing company. It's not like generic any other company. We manufacture our own raw material. We manufacture our own API. API stands for active pharma ingredient, not the application
Yeah.
programming interface of any other technology. So, okay,
Thanks for
and
clarifying that.
we manufacture our own formulations. So it can be whatever tablets or whatever injectables, whatever you see that. So that means the operations are so complex. So obviously the simple inventory item code need not be the item code what that is being communicated in North America and South America, where they are completely directly under FDA surveillance. They should speak a common code which is accepted by all the distributors companies. That's what we do. So when we build all the applications and make sure the data is near to our AI applications are near to that. That's what we do. Now, other than that, so because of our IP intellectual property is residing in on-prem, now we are having our own hardware, our own GPUs at our data center. So that way, so as I mentioned, because we don't want to take any kind of risk by way of data exfiltration. So I don't know how many of you. I'm also getting more hands-on even cybersecurity, and even LLMs can be hacked. A simple keyword in your prompt can give the LLM. LLM can give you hallucination, and especially in pharma, hallucination means it is a hoax because directly acts on the human life sciences.
Yes.
That is the reason we wanted to have everything within the four walls of the company. So we are trying to invest everything, even on GPUs will be kept in our data center. Probably, if we have our own GPUs in Hyderabad, we may serve these GPUs to our US counterpart as well, because again, both of our environments. That way, we wanted to have that. Again, at the same time, we are also constrained by the FDA guidelines, and we are ISO ISMS certified. So obviously constrained by the ISO ISMS security guidelines as well. And the reason why I said that, okay, using any of the APIs or from the OpenAI ChatGPT, it is very easy. But at the same time, without our notice, our data will go. Unfortunately, in today's world, we are under the surveillance of our own devices, which is a fact. Okay, every movement of our individuals are known to our devices first rather than anyone else.
Thing, because you mentioned Gen AI use case that Oracle is, I think we are working with them on that. There's so much a buzz about agentic AI. Just a quick response from you. Are you exploring any agentic AI use cases you think that can add any value to your company?
Yeah, agentic AI. See, when we say generative AI right now, the applications what we are looking at is agentic AI.
Agentic AI. Okay, fine.
Agentic
Okay.
AI, we want to automate some of the procedures where we want to. Okay, human in the loop will be there only for whenever there are some approvals or reviews are required. Otherwise, the mundane processes we wanted to give through the agentic AI only. That's what we are working on today. Of course,
Thank you, Chitti.
some of the applications I cannot mention what we are working on
Right.
to Pharma R&D side, but
Right.
yes, we are using that. Again, in the same context, I will also, because I told one on the CII meeting also. See, I think Vivek told that we have 140 crores profit company. That is really, are we taking that advantage? Whether government is taking that advantage or not is a one what we need to see. The reason why I'm saying
Right.
this, with such a beautiful the population. If India can give the data of biobank for all pharma companies, even molecule can be discovered with right LLM and right generative AI application. Whereas UK has done it, and I think couple of products are already in the clinical trial stage. Whereas
Right.
if Indian government has taken initiative, will take an initiative to come up with a Indian biobank by integrating all diagnostic labs and clinical institutes, etc. Beautiful biobank will get it, and I think for mankind. It is very easy to come up with a new molecule for any of the diseases because with such a huge data bank. So that's
Right.
what I feel.
Right. Thank you, Chitti. And Ravi, this must be very familiar language which Chitti is sharing, given your long association with Dr. Reddy Labs, right? On the drug discovery and all that. So now I wanted to go a little deeper, Ravi, because you mentioned earlier about the importance of having use of AI when it comes to tracking your supply chain and all that. Go a little deeper, and I had a chance to also read your book where you emphasized a lot on technology that will really play a big part when it comes to supply chain resilience, visibility, and all that. So, where do you really see the most immediate value when you implement things like digital twins, predictive ETAs, control tower visibility for enterprises, especially if you have a situation where you have plants in India and maybe fleets in the North American region, Ravi?
Well, that's a very, very interesting question, and it's something very close to my heart also. I mean, I've written about digital twins even in my book. So thanks for asking me this question. Yeah, so digital twins, when we think about digital twins, what normally comes to our mind is, and the way it started was, we're talking about having a digital twin of a physical asset,
Yeah.
a machine to put it very simply. But the concept caught on, and very soon people started talking about a digital twin of entire supply chains. Now, industry has been doing it for their planning purposes, creating digital twins of their manufacturing facilities and running something which is called a planning engine. So, but that is enterprise related. It's confined to the four walls, say, of the enterprise. When you model your resources, model your demands, model your supply constraints, etc. But now the concept of digital twin actually extends the frontiers. It goes beyond the frontiers of your organization. And what we try to do when we implement a digital twin is try not only to model your own resources, your own map, not only your own framework, but also map your customers, okay, on the front side, or your customers. And as you go upstream in the supply chain, you map your suppliers. You also map your suppliers. And the reason why it is done is because many a times your raw material suppliers are also the raw material suppliers of your competitors. Similarly, your customer is buying from you, and he's also buying from your competitor. Okay, so this is a complex network, and any constraint that comes up at any point of the network, say one supplier has a manufacturing constraint or has a choke point, or one supplier route develops a choke point. For example, the China-India trade runs into a constraint scenario because of some geopolitical issue on the South China Sea, or what we experienced on the Red Sea crisis, where we had to take a different route. So we are living in an interconnected network. So these are no longer supply chains; these are supply nets, or value nets as they are called. So unless you're able to have some kind of a digital visibility on this entire interconnected mesh, you will not be able to crack it. You will not be able to master what is happening in it. If you are able to master it, it will give you two things. One, it will tell you where are possible choke points, who has a ability to choke you, or take control, or a leadership position, or a position in the supply chain, and what are your possible strategies or your moves that go and enable you to go and sit at the fulcrum and thereby control the supply chain. So as a concept, of course, it would be sounding very nice. The hard work or the challenge that comes into it is because when you're modeling this supply chain nodes, huge amounts a huge number of them, you need to be sure about what parameters about those nodes you're trying to model. One, supposing you model all the three parameters of the network, then comes the question, how do you get data for it?
Right.
Okay. So now this is all external data. Again, the same question of how do you generate that data? And it is not always possible to get data. Sometimes data is controlled, and regulations prohibit publication of data. Say, for example, customs import-export data. If you get it, it's very good, something to work with. But you don't always get it from all the countries. So then you have to go into a different realm of simulation, synthetic data. You create those data models where you make certain assumptions, run multiple simulations, quantify that data, quantify the risk or the uncertainty in that data, and try to work with it. So I think the concept of digital twins, technologically, it is possible. Some models would be very cumbersome to run, but there are deep learning models also. I have I've worked on a couple of them at a very small scale. It is thereby possible to bring in that complexity and run it, but it is very compute intensive. But going forward, given the uncertainty that we are living in, geopolitical uncertainties, other kind of disruptions, regulatory disruptions, I think industry will want to adopt more and more of it. Right now, though, it might be like sounding a little fanciful, but going forward, it will be something that will become a necessity. So I hope I answered your questions directly.
You did, Ravi. And I think when you talk about the digital twin, you need a seamless integration of multiple technology, right? You need obviously sensors to extract data from the physical world, good low latency, high speed networks to send it to cloud platforms, and of course enough compute and storage capacity to have these models running. Right. And we've seen the cost of technology also coming down. So hopefully we'll see adoption of digital twins picking up. And thank you for sharing that, Ravi. Let me move back to Sheenam. And Sheenam, you've been speaking at a number of GCC summits, so I can't help but ask this question on GCC to GCC collaboration. And Sheenam, you at the beginning of the year, you talked about what is called as a zero distance approach, right? Where your India centers can collaborate with GCCs of US banks sitting here in India. If you can give an example of how GCC to GCC collaboration has accelerated AI cloud adoption for any of your US clients, and what can really be done to institutionalize this Indo-US GCC network, Sheena?
So, good question, very relevant to us. The zero distance mantra for us is very simple, Sunil. Like we are a GCC for Broadridge, and Broadridge is a fintech platform catering to most of the broker dealers across the world, right? All of these banks really have presence here. So if you're talking about Wells Fargo, Northern Trust, Nomura, Citibank, HSBC, Barclays, SocGen, all of them, over 35 of them are in India and with large presence. Now, these are people, institutes that now have people using Broadridge's products, having an influence over decisions that are made on Broadridge's products. And in many cases, decision makers are sitting in India, right? The CTO of Nomura sits in Mumbai, right? Barclays decision makers sit here, HSBC decision makers sit here. So, instead of they going back to their headquarters, when there is an issue or there is a need, who comes to our headquarters comes back to us, okay, and that flow keeps happening. We said, let's create a zero distance in the time zone. So if you are sitting here and I'm sitting here, it really makes a lot of sense for us to have, a collaboration directly with our customers sitting here. So that's something that we established late last year, and we have completed 2 editions of our annual client summit. This year we had 150 client leaders from over 150 of over 35 of our customers in the room when we talk to them. And then when you start talking, you're talking not only about your products, you're talking about their future strategy. You're talking about what are the AI problems that they want to solve. You're talking about what are the blockchain problems that they want to solve, and really working towards how you can take that back to account management, how you can take that to enterprise product and to the businesses, and then bring it back. So we become a channel of feed into the larger business development that we want to do with them. Now, as a result of these client summits, we also established a local account management function. Now, we have got about 3 account managers sitting in India working with about 8 or 9 of our customers. Now, when they want to do something, they want a decision, they can come to our facilities, we can go to their premises, and we can really sit across the table and help them understand what we are trying to do, right? That helps collaboration with our US entity, with their global entities, whether that's in Europe or in the US, and really builds a proposition that is a win-win situation for everybody.
Right. And Sheenam, you mentioned about global roles being created in India. You gave the example of Nomura, right? And I think it's not just Nomura, but many of the large GCCs are now creating these kind of roles in India, right?
We have
Yes.
global roles sitting in India. So
Yeah, that's fantastic. And also, Sheenam, last year, if I recollect, the GCCs probably hired more people, not just global with people with global role, but even entry level, mid level jobs compared to the tech services industry, right? So probably the next 2 years we'll probably see a lot more, hiring happening perhaps from the GCC side, given the pace at which they are growing.
Absolutely. I mean, the GCC today is scheduled to become a $1 trillion business soon. So, it's something where we are headed towards. We already have 1,800, 1,900 GCCs, right? So it's a different line of business, a different way of working to what India is traditionally known. And you're right, we are our own competition, right? There are sometimes I call up my customer and say, hey, listen, buddy, you've been hiring a lot of our people, like slow down. So we are our own competition too.
Thanks, Sheenam. Moving to Vivek, and Vivek, I wanted you to address this aspect about governance, risk, and compliance in the corridor, right? So AI risk, copyright, model opacity. Now, these are kind of very hot topics both here in India and the US. So how is Qnity trying to help clients design governance frameworks that are robust enough for US regulators, but still agile enough to help or to tap India's rich data and talent ecosystem, Vivek?
Right, Sunil. So, Sunil, that is again a very, very, very tight bridge. And when we say a tight bridge, we have to go to the last mile because it's an age of we are doing tokenization of things like gold assets, and we are doing digital agents, and we are also thinking to go end to end. Means we are trying to diversify, but we also have to think. Let's not only focus on the length and the breadth. We need to go and understand the height and the width of the governance part. And when we say that, since I come from the audit background, we basically ensure that not only the patents are adequately and timely done, the intellectual property rights are properly framed. And we have undoubtedly all of us know the DPDP Act and so-called the each and everything what we have heard in the last earlier years, which is Companies Act or Labor Union Act or whatnot. So now newer aspects of that, right from FEMA to whatnot have come. So all these are flowing into like arteries and inflection points leading to a stellar growth. But at the same time, we need to protect the environment of Make in India, whereby if the things are starting with us, that should be the target. It should not be that in from 0 to 10, we are just participating in 4, then we are participating on 8. We need to be there at stage 0 and we need to be there at stage 11, if not 10 only. And while we say that, we are also focusing on DevOps. We are also focusing on moving from the long tail value creation rather than only focusing on the short tail one. And while we say that, we understand that tech is a commodity. And while we say that data is oil, governance, risk, and controls need to be there, especially in area of cybersecurity, ethical aspects, and we have put around such a kind of barometer that not only people are frisked and checked, but also their laptops, their mobile devices, their any and everything are strongly being put under radar so that nothing which is sensitive goes out. So which is all about the best practices which the big fours bring to us.
Yeah, in fact, I must tell you this, Vivek. Cybersecurity was also part of this webinar, and I had to tell Arun that that's a topic in itself. We probably have to do cybersecurity separately, and that's why we're kind of confining ourselves to AI and cloud today. But thank you for sharing. And let me get to Ravi again. And Ravi, just wanted to get your thoughts on the importance of talent and partnerships, especially in the context of India, US. And from a supply chain leader's lens, Ravi, what kind of talent and partnerships do we need across the Indo-US corridor whether it is with logistics platforms, cloud providers, startups that you also work with, ports or universities, to really build an AI-ready, shock-resilient logistics backbone for Indian manufacturers who are trying to grow global, Ravi?
Yeah, very important question, Sunil. So first, yeah, talent you rightly identified, we need, I mean, there is a challenge with talent, let's put it bluntly, and just put it on the table. And a lot of the normal technical stuff that these engineers used to do has been taken over by Gen AI. So there is a lot of require for upskilling, and that is what we are also seeing, that uh, IT people, they are going for upskilling and then coming back and taking roles that are there, which is specific for AI. We are also, when we hire, we look for people who come with a background not only of the domain, but also have an understanding of how that translates into the new environment. So that is one aspect that you've asked about. The other thing is about platforms, and how do they bring it? How do they bring resilience into the entire system? So yes, platforms are already there. They're there in a big way in every aspect of the supply chain. Right from freight price discovery, there are platforms that enable that. There are external platforms that integrate the entire external processes, from procure to pay, or order to cash. Of course, many organizations do that internally. And specifically to your point about working with startups, most organizations nowadays have a policy about how to engage with startups, specifically in domains where they don't want to work directly. And you're aware that there are, in the IoT space, you worked extensively in the IoT space, there are a lot of startups who can give you an end-to-end service, not just a device that you can use. So you're creating services about those technologies and integrating them and offering it back to the business as integrated services. So I think this trend is, as you rightly identified, already there, and people are using it. So that will be my short response to your question.
Right, Ravi. And talking of startups, Ravi, it's very interesting and it's heartening to see how some of the large US giants have actually collaborated with T-Hub, as you know, and you're a mentor there, and so am I. But companies like Uber, Facebook, UTC, big brands in US have really collaborated and really co-innovating with T-Hub ecosystem to co-create solutions and products targeting global markets. So it's glad that you brought in that startup element. Let me move to Chitti. And Chitti, and this is the last question before we go to question and answer. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on responsible AI and AI life sciences. What guardrails, technical as well as process-driven, to be put in place to really ensure that you're responsibly using AI. Chitti, from a pharma standpoint, if you can share that, it'll be great.
Yeah, from pharma standpoint of view, okay, using the AI, it needs a lot of education to the community, user community as well, because uh, it is not that whatever AI gives, it is the right approach. It may take its own time, because especially in pharma, it is completely purely based on chemistry. So for me, some of applications can be built, can be trusted on using AI applications, but still we are not there yet. If it is a focused application, or wherever you need to have AI, agentic AI, absolutely no second thought, we can definitely right away deploy that. When it comes to, I was telling about clinical trials. When it comes to clinical trials, obviously we should have the proper the model and proper algorithms to, especially on the chemical algorithms, to come up with a new molecule. Otherwise, it directly impacts like human life sciences. Similarly, there are so many things that can be done. For example, the inequality, quality tests, where there are completely some kind of cyclic tests or periodic tests that can be handled by the AI applications. We need to educate, of course, education to the end user is very much needed, because they should also use, at least if application is doing 80% of the result, and 20% human intelligence or human interpretation is very much needed. Because today's everybody thinks that AI can replace human beings. Again, my statement I always keep saying that it may take several years, several decades to replace human being, because today's AI application will not think like a human being. It does not have any kind of emotion. Okay, it can definitely think, because everything is a purely statistical based algorithms. It goes by one root mean square error or mean absolute percentage error. How do they do that? What kind of algorithms they do that? They use that. All these are statistical algorithms, and in such cases, there are chances where the hallucination may be there. How do we eliminate the hallucination? How do we identify it is hallucination? That kind of training is needed for any kind of even professionals, so that they can efficiently use the AI applications.
Right, and we talked about human AI, right? I mean, that paradigm is here to stay, right? I mean, we talk about AGI, super intelligence, but I think when you combine nothing can really replace human gut instinct, empathy. And when you really combine human competency or capabilities along with compute capacity of AI, when you combine those two together, I think that combination is really lethal, right?
Yeah. So the reason one sentence, the reason why I said, well, see, if every AI application will work on graphical processor, GPU, right?
Right,
What do you mean GPU? It identifies only patterns. If there is a
correct.
deviation in the pattern, it doesn't know what to do.
Correct. Yeah, and I agree.
Simple.
Yeah, thanks. Ravi, you wanted to comment on startups something? Go ahead, Ravi.
Yeah. So you mentioned about the collaboration of human machine, like Chitti
Yeah.
Babu also mentioned. I
Mhm.
think it's very important to understand, the limitation, of the machine. That is point number one that Chitti already made. The other
Mhm.
thing on startups is, and I'm speaking from my experience of working for more than 2 years now with T-Hub and mentoring a
Mhm.
lot of startups. And what I've observed is that in the startup universe, people do come with a lot of technical expertise. They understand the technology. They understand what the technology can do. But where they need guidance is, how does it fit into a business? How does it
Mm.
form a use case?
Yeah.
And so that is where the domain expertise, whether it is supply chain
Mm.
or any other domain, the specialist comes in and tries to marry the two, the technical power and how it makes sense to a business, and how it can actually move the a performance indicator for business. That's what really business actually what cares about. Whether it is creating value, whether it is improving a KPI. So the human aspect comes in there, to integrate the technical expertise and the power of technology with the aspect of understanding the domain where it is to be used.
I think it's a very great point, Ravi. The importance, I mean, my own experience has been sometimes the startups focus so much on tech that they really don't get to the heart of the business problem. What is the problem that the client is trying to solve? So I think that understanding of the domain so that you can then take the technology that can address that problem becomes very critical, right? So thanks for bringing up that point. And Ravi, we have one question. This is for you because it is about supply chain resilience. And this question is from Ganesh Naik. He wanted to know how can AI help in improving supply chain resilience, especially from a supply chain perspective. Ravi.
Yeah. So number one, resilience has to be by design. It should not be that you are kind of designing for an outlier. That should not be the approach. Number one. Uh, so all these systems, that are being developed in an organization with or without AI, number one should already provide that buffer of certain degree of uncertainty. Okay, so let's not look at AI for problem solving of for disruption. Okay, so that's my first comment. So you have to kind of cap it over there. The other aspect is when you really want to use the predictive ability of AI for capturing disruptions, then it requires a huge amount of modeling, because disruptions by definition they are unplanned. And that is where you when you scan the entire ecosystem and create some kind of uh, a predictor, identify predictors that can help you preempt some of the moves that are happening in the supply chain. That is another way you can do it, but then it requires a lot of management buy-in to invest in those kind of systems, because organizations normally are built for stability and for business as usual. So So, I mean, there has to be a distinction between how you're using technology for bringing stability and how you're using it to predict a disruption.
Okay, thanks, Ravi. I'm going to take this last question because we have overshortened time, and this is for Vivek. How is India gearing to become a semiconductor hub by 2030 or 2050 in terms of policy framework? Vivek, this is the last
Right.
question before we wind up here.
Sure, Sunil. So I'll be very crisp in saying when we say policy framework, 2 to 3 things. First, the public partnership with private is happening. Industry partnership with academia is happening. When we say policy, then the policy makers and the evangelists and the industry people, they all are joining hands. And it is not that that the main war is done on the battlefield. Now they're all done in the war rooms. So primarily when we say about the policy making is not about the brain as of now. It's about the EQ and the IQ, the emotional quotient and the intelligent quotient, which was the past. And now it is about the CQ and the PQ, whereby C stands for curiosity quotient and P stands for passion quotient. So it's a combination of IQ plus EQ plus CQ plus PQ, whereby the policy becomes Vision 2030, India and US under guidance of IACC will rock. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful note to end this session, Vivek. India-US collaboration will rock, but it's been a wonderful discussion. Thank you so much, Ravi, Sheenam, Chitti, and Vivek for sharing your perspectives. We covered quite a lot over the last 1 hour. Unfortunately, we cannot take any more questions because we completely run out of time. But what I would urge those who couldn't ask the question is to take this question offline through IACC. Maybe they can reach out to the panelists and get those questions addressed. But thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Sheenam, for joining this. And I'm now handing it over back to Nehal for the next steps. Nehal, over to you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Vivek, thanks a lot. That question was from my end about the semiconductors.
Yeah.
And,
nice one.
Yeah.
And I like your tie, buddy.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Yeah, so just coming to the formal vote of thanks. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As we come to the close of this insightful and engaging session on the Indo-US Tech Corridor, AI and cloud computing opportunities, it is my privilege to extend a formal vote of thanks on behalf of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce and the Indo-US Trade Relations Committee. First, my sincere appreciation to Mr. Arun Karna, sir, chairman of our committee, for his welcome address and for framing the narrative of today's discussion. His continued guidance and strategic vision are instrumental in driving dialogues that happen in and deepen Indo-US technology collaborations. A special word of thanks to our moderator, Mr. Sunil David. Sunil, it was a fantastic evening, fantastic session. I think the time was too short for us to listen. It can go on for a couple of hours. So for expertly steering the panel, introducing them with clarity and ensuring a thoughtful, high-impact conversation, I extend our deep gratitude to our distinguished panelists, Mr. Chitti Babu, Dr. Ravi Prakash Mathur, Ms. Sheenam Ohrie, and Mr. Vivek Sani for sharing their expertise, experience, and perspective. Your insight on AI, cloud transformation, and emerging opportunities in the Indo-US ecosystem have enriched us immensely and provided direction for the future collaborations. My thanks also to the IACC Secretariat and the Indo-US Trade Relations Committee team for their meticulous backhand efforts in organizing today's program. And finally, to all our attendees, thank you for your time, participation, and engagement. Your presence reinforces the relevance of these initiatives and motivates us to continue enabling platforms that connect ideas, capabilities, and partnership across India and the United States. So we look forward to meeting you again at our forthcoming IACC programs. Thank you once again, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
As the co-chair of the Indo-US Committee, thank you, Mr. Nehal Desai, and thank you for your presence and the closing. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Take care.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye.